Hey everyone, I'm Karen. I run Gluten-Free Singapore, internationalglutenfree.com, and I have a trip report for you today. Now, look, videos, the videos are not my thing, and I have decided just to go for purpose, for getting the information out there to you rather than perfection, which is tough. So, I promise you, if you're watching this, I have edited this whole video for ums and ahs and added as many pictures as I can. This is going to be pretty low tech and not real slick, but hopefully you'll find it very useful. I have lived in Singapore for over 14 years. I arrived here in 2011 with an 8-year-old celiac child and a celiac husband. So we have been doing gluten-free here a long time. This video is for a very niche audience, people who are gluten-free or celiac, and people who are either planning a trip to New Zealand, or if you're coming from New Zealand, Australia, planning a trip to Singapore. That's the information I'm going to go over today. Here's how we're going to do it. First, I will go through a basic trip report, and then I'm going to compare it to Singapore and what you would expect here if you're coming to visit us. And then I am going to show you all the great stuff I brought back from New Zealand to Singapore. Okay, listen, we have a great gluten-free Singapore travel guide. I am working really hard this month to actually make it completely free. We run on donations. I have this guide on an independent platform, which is paid for out of pocket. And anything that we collect in donations really just goes to offset the cost of keeping it up there for you. Although you will see us on main social media platforms, I'm trying not to be dependent on them. So you never know. Things happen. Just recently, a major one went offline for a while and everybody panicked, especially in the US. We do not have advertisements and I'm not at the whims of the major social media oligarchs, just me. I own and produce all the content. So if you can make a donation and help us keeping up and running, in addition to keeping this information available to anyone who needs it, also helps bring awareness and education to Singapore as well. All right, so we just spent a week in New Zealand on the South Island, and it was fabulous. My husband, No Wheat Pete, and I went together over the Chinese New Year holiday. We had a great time. We have been there once before with the kids about 11 years ago. That time we did a camper van and did 3 weeks on both islands, and it was great. At the time, our little celiac was 11 years old, 12, and she was just in absolute heaven. It was so easy. We flew Qantas from Changi Airport in Singapore through Brisbane to Christchurch and spent the night there. I didn't do a huge amount of research before going. I've been to Australia and we've been to New Zealand once before, and I knew that it was fairly straightforward for gluten-free. When we got there, I did a quick research and found a couple of great blogs. I'll put all the links to anything I reference below, and found a great little restaurant walking distance from our hotel in downtown called Joe's Garage. Pete got fried chicken. He could not have been happier. And I got a grilled chicken Cobb salad, which I also ordered gluten-free so that we could share. Now, quite honestly, gluten-free was just really easy. We asked, do you have gluten-free options? Yep, no problem. Almost every menu that we saw was marked with clearly either no gluten ingredients or has a gluten-free option. And it was great. He was so happy to have fried chicken and fries. He had sweet potato fries with a dedicated fryer. All right, the next day, we drove from Christchurch all the way down to Queenstown, which we did on purpose. I know we could have flown into Queenstown, but we really wanted to do the ride. And I have so many pictures of beautiful lakes and mountains, and it was totally worth it. We stopped in Geraldine for lunch. I didn't really have a plan. I sort of looked up restaurants, found one that as we were driving by, it exceeded all expectations. We stopped at Mundell's Cafe. I wasn't quite sure what they had, but figured they could probably do something. And sure enough, when we asked, do you have any gluten-free options? They said, oh, in the display case, everything on the top rack is gluten-free. That was exactly what I wanted to hear. So big win. Thank you so much. Pete and I split a crepe cranberry cup and corn fritters with bacon. Lovely lunch. And then we realized that right next door was a gin distillery. That's one of our favorites. So we popped over there and picked up some gin to take to our friend's house. We got 2 great little bottles plus a gorgeous bottle of sloe gin. Humdinger's gin. I'll list all of the links in the notes below this video. We got down to Queenstown and met our friends and went to the Gantry Tavern. And again, the menu, well marked. Pete got a pork belly salad. I got the pork belly sandwich. It was fabulous. They had a huge selection of beers, but also a whole bunch of gluten-free ciders, some of them homemade. Great experience. We also got a crispy cauliflower with lemon and garlic. Fabulous. So that's how our holiday started, and it only got better from there. In Queenstown, we went to Eric's Fish and Chips. If you're going to Queenstown, New Zealand, and you're celiac, hands down, this was great. It is a little hole-in-the-wall place, and I walked up to the window and said, do I need to do anything to order gluten-free? And the woman at the counter simply told me, you can have everything except for the malt vinegar on the counter. We got fish and chips and calamari there. Then later on, I actually learned that they had donuts too. So we went back a second time for donuts. It was absolutely fabulous and delicious. It was so nice to order something fried and not have to worry about cross-contamination. We went to a couple wineries, highly recommended. Queenstown's great for vineyards. We ate one day at Mount Difficulty, which was gorgeous, way up in one of the hills, and menu was well marked. We also ate at a restaurant named Soda downtown in Queenstown main town area. We walked in and asked what gluten-free options you have. What are the best things to order? The waitress's reply was, actually it'd be easier for me to tell you what you cannot order rather than what you can. She listed off about 3 things on the menu that he couldn't have, and everything else is fine. That was amazing. Highly recommend trying the lamb. As usual, we try to get everything gluten-free so we can just share. We ended up with lamb, paella, and so many other delicious things. We also ate at Rata, which was another fabulous menu. Same thing. The waitress checked off the 3 things he couldn't have, and away we went. So that was great. At the end of our trip, we drove back from Queenstown all the way back to Christchurch for our flight out. And we spent the night before our flight at the Novotel at the Christchurch airport. I can't believe I'm saying this, but that was probably the best restaurant in an airport I've ever been to. There's a fabulous little restaurant on the top floor of the airport Novotel that overlooks the runways. Again, no problem getting a gluten-free meal. Everybody knows what they're doing. Pete had salmon and a green pea risotto, and I got a roast chicken piccata. Then we ended up splitting a dessert, something delicious. And it wasn't a fruit platter, so winning. We flew out super early in the morning. It was a 6 a.m. flight, and if you ever have an early morning flight out of Christchurch, I definitely recommend this hotel because it's a 1-minute walk from the front door of the hotel into the check-in terminal. So, while we were there, we also stopped by several grocery stores, Woolworths or Woolies. I love going to grocery stores, especially to see what great gluten-free options they have. And I was not disappointed. We found gluten-free Tim Tams in every single one, also the gluten-free minty slices. Oh yeah. Plus all sorts of other great stuff. At the end of this video, I'll show you all the great stuff I packed and brought back from New Zealand in our luggage for all of my gluten-free friends. And we flew Qantas. The last leg of the trip was a code share, so we actually flew Finnair via Qantas. According to Pete, that was the best gluten-free airline meal he'd ever have. I have pictures of all of them. I'll also do a quick airline trip report in case you want to know what you might be eating. Gluten-free options on airlines. It's always kind of hit or miss, isn't it? Okay, so If you're coming from Singapore or anywhere else and going to New Zealand, you really need to do very little research ahead of time. It's good to familiarize yourself with where you're going and what are some good options along the way. But by and large, every restaurant we went to understood gluten-free. There was very little discussion on that we can't do this. And it was a lovely, relaxing trip. And honestly, when in doubt, you can stop at any grocery store and find plenty of options. So go to New Zealand. If I could find a reason to move there, probably my top choice. That brings me to anybody from New Zealand or Australia coming to Singapore, because this is totally different. New Zealand, and actually I've been to Australia. You guys are great. Singapore has how do I say it? Just a crippling lack of understanding and awareness of both what gluten is and cross-contamination. And I'm not going to fault them. Celiac disease is not common nor diagnosed in the local population here. Most people are gluten-free for other health reasons or by choice, but not particularly for celiac disease. Thus, the awareness has not yet grown, and honestly, we're working on it, but we got a long way to go. If you're coming to Singapore, you need to do your research first. It is not the same as traveling in New Zealand, where everybody knows what's going on. There are much more limited places to eat. I know Singapore is a foodie culture, but hawker centers are extremely difficult. And I'm not saying that there's nothing here, but you need to know what you're doing, because you'll be exhausted with the amount of no's and cannot do that you will hear. I do have an entire guide which will list the most common restaurants that we have found that we deem safe, as well as places to buy groceries and little things you need to know about gluten-free in Singapore, which are not going to be the same as from your home country. Okay, so I packed as much as I could into my suitcase to bring back to Singapore with me. Let me show you what great goodies we found in New Zealand grocery stores. Hold on. Here we go. For starters, this was definitely one of our favorite crackers. Just nice little rice thins go with everything. When we were there with our daughter years ago, they went through bags and bags of those. Bread in every grocery store. This was one that we liked, and I bought at the beginning of a trip. We ended up not even opening it because we had so much other great stuff to eat that I just packed it and brought it back with me. It's now going into the freezer for my dear husband. All right, my friends, you probably know there's gluten-free Tim Tams, but oh my goodness, these things are to die for. And I'll be honest, Pete only had 3 of these. I'm pretty sure I ate the rest of the pack, so I brought back several. Found these at the grocery store. I think they're crackers. This is the only gluten-free one I found, but they look like fun. Anyway, I'm sure if you're Australian or a Kiwi, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, let's see. Rocky Road Slice. Does this just say rough day? I'm going to store this. I don't even know if Pete's going to eat this. This might be all for me. Oh, right. More mint cookies. Yeah. Because, you just can't go wrong with chocolate and mint. 2 more of these. And, all right. Scotch fingers. And finally, hot cross buns. This was the chocolate version, and this was the apple cinnamon. And of course, they had the regular fruit ones, but I've had those before. I will say, actually, I ate the majority of a pack of these for breakfast in the week that we were traveling. So that was the great stuff I brought back with me. Lots of it is going to the freezer for no wheat Pete, and some I'll be sharing with my gluten-free friends here. So if you're going to New Zealand or Australia, for heaven's sakes, bring an extra bag to bring as much stuff back in your luggage as possible. Thanks for watching. That is my New Zealand trip report. If you're coming to visit Singapore and if you need any help, I am available to book calls with. if you've been to New Zealand or Australia, I also would love to hear your thoughts and suggestions. All right. Thank you so much. You can find more information at internationalglutenfree.com. And until next time, bye.